Welcome my friends back to Marvel Snap. Today we are playing Super or Loser with Cassandra Nova, a brand new release style for Marvel Snap, which has me incredibly excited regardless of this card's performance. She is free with the Deadpool Diners event and technically available from the very beginning if you are incredibly successful at winning bubs. She's going to cost you 15 million bubs. And guys, let's just face it, it's going to take some time for that many bubs to be available in the Diners hypothetical economy, so don't beat yourself up if it takes you a little bit to get to her, but I had to release this video here at the beginning of the event to get people hyped up and thinking, and I know that there's going to be some people powering straight through to be able to grab her. So where is she going to land? Is she going to be worth the time investment, or should you be holding off? Do we think she's going to make a splash in the meta, and what deck do we think she's really going to make it in? All of that and more as we dive right in. A 3-1 stat line. On reveal, steal 1 power from each other card in your opponent's deck. This is fascinating. This is the first time that we are stealing power. We have stolen abilities before, a la Rogue, and then in a few seconds here, Copycat. But for stealing power, again, Cassandra Nova is treading new territory, and I love this. It means that every card in your opponent's deck is going to be getting 1 power weaker, and then Cassandra Nova is going to be gaining that power herself. We're going nuclear on RSM, my friends. So here is the breakdown on her variable stats. Every single turn past turn 3, she is getting weaker and significantly less effective, in fact, because she has this double-edged sword type of ability, both taking power away from your opponent's cards and giving herself power. You want to be playing her on turn 3 to be able to get the maximum impact. It's really hard to evaluate how effective that affliction of minus power on the opponent's cards are, because there's plenty of situations where your opponent is not playing all of those cards, and then there's other situations where your opponent is completely debilitated, but you might not ever know that. If you hit the opponent's Deadpool in their destroy deck and then they draw it on turn 4, they could, in a normal situation, still be able to juice up the Deadpool and get their game plan going together, but if he's starting at 0, he's doubling into nothing, you could have just broken the back of their game plan entirely, but then because they're not actually going to play that 0 power Deadpool, you're not exactly going to be able to see the impact that Cass is having for you, but just rest assured, she is putting in the work, especially against Thanos or RSM. Oh my gosh. Thanos is not super relevant in the meta at the moment, but RSM certainly is. Adding 12 to any of these stat lines, that means that even on the final turn, then Cassandra Nova is going to be a 16 power. That's bigger than Blob, my boys. Ooh, we are eating good tonight. And because she has such natural synergies with the Hawk deck, this could finally be what cracks the meta, wrestles the crown off of RSM's head. We saw a little blip where he was fading and then came right back with a slightly different set of tech card choices, and it's getting exhausting. We need this shakeup. So how are we going to find it? We're going to find it with these friends. This is the highlight page, though I do think a Silver Surfer deck is going to do fairly well as well, but especially the Darkhawk capabilities and package. Korg, Rock Slide, Hawk, amazing. Bloating the opponent's deck is going to give you even more power on Cassandra Nova, and it all just feeds in together. Black Widow here also holding cards in the opposing deck, and competing with the 3 slot. Say you haven't drawn Cass yet, you can drop Black Widow down, hope that you find your Cass. The opponent's deck is still the exact same size, and it feels almost as impactful as if you had been able to play Cass on tempo. Grandmaster here is representing her connection to the suite of on-reveal synergies. I think Grandmaster is maybe the best synergy for her, while some of the other ones get a little greedy and just come into effect late enough in the game that they are not impactful, not as impactful as I would really want them to be. And then Renslayer here, actually a little jump scare when I was creating the template for our slides here. I forgot that she was nerfed to a 2/2. That did happen, but her deck is still good, and she is going to be discounting Cass. Now, because you have to set up Renslayer on turn 2 herself, you're not going to be able to accelerate Cass getting to the board a turn early, but you are going to make her that much more energy efficient and hopefully play another card alongside her. You could be in a position where you play Renslayer on 2, and then you get to play both Korg and then follow with Cass on turn 3, adding that rock to the opposing deck. That makes Cass 1 point bigger. If the opponent draws that rock, it's -1 power, so it's that much worse for them, and it goes on from there. Rolling on forward, we have the Affliction boys highlighted here, and I think that Absman, he's also connected to that on reveal synergy. I think that he is right in there. Being able to copy Cass could be good. Being able to copy some of the effects that are adding cards to the opponent's deck can also be excellent, so I am giving him honorable mention here. And then A-Bomb and Ajax, man. If you play Scorpion on 2 and Cass on 3, you have effectively afflicted the opponent's entire deck. The only cards that are escaping the affliction are what they were able to play on turns 1 or 2, and then what they top decked on turn 3. And that's it. Everything else is afflicted, and Ajax is getting bigger, and Abomination is getting cheaper. And that could be a package that is just enough to push that deck into the meta where it really wanted to be, but just didn't quite land. Ajax has faded now into obscurity after a very lackluster release, and the Evo Flictionary deck has never quite landed with me. Maybe Cass gets it going. Cass will definitely make it better. I'm still a little hesitant on that being her best landing spot. Another potentially very capable landing spot, but this is mostly because it's just a powerful shell and not necessarily because of what Cass is lending or that she's revolutionizing it in any way, but it's going to be a Surfer deck. Yeah, she's a 3-cost. You had to bring it out. And we actually love running Luke Cage ourselves to be able to deflect Shadow Kings from our Cass. And if we're running Luke and we're running Cass, we can run Surfer because we already have a base of 3-cost synergies, and then we can run Hazmat. It becomes super cost effective if we're running Luke, and the deck kind of builds itself from there. Also, a Toxic Sarah deck has always been on the bubble of like the Sarah control meta and being pretty capable at any given time, and I think that Cass is going to be able just to clock right in there and give you another tool in the toolbox that I do think is going to be very effective. I mean, those stat lines of playing her on curve are absolutely fantastic. It's almost gladiator levels of efficiency for her stat lines. Now the trap cards. These are the cards that may appear to have synergies with our Nova here, but I think just aren't going to really pan out. Wong is showing the greedy side of the on-reveal synergies. Yes, he synergizes. Yes, Cass would get a better stat line. And yes, I think that we could be doing better things with our turn 4. Beast is pretty spicy, and the idea of returning Cass to player again sounds super fun, but it's just going to be happening so late in the game that I don't think it's really what we want to be doing. But that is actually not to say that I don't think Beast is going to be good with a Cass deck. I could easily see a bounce affliction control type deck come into its own, where Beast is going to be used. I just don't want Beast to be targeting Cassandra Nova. I want Beast to be targeting my Iceman, my Scorpion. I want Werewolf to be in there. I want Silver Sable to be in there, who she's coming out in the following season and is going to be a mini Cass, just stealing from the opponent's top card. I want those cards to be bounced, not Cass herself. Okay. And this is where we have to get a little harsh. The control cards. And honestly, in the control cards, things are looking a little bleak because Cass ends up being very vulnerable. If the opponent is running Luke Cage, then we're losing all of the value of taking power away from the opponent. Cass herself is still going to be able to grow. She's able to steal from the deck because cards in the deck are not protected by Luke, but once the opponent gets them to the board, if they're also running Luke, they get all of that power back. And then if we have a full affliction game plan with the Cass, Luke is going to break the back of that deck. If you're running Hawk, Luke could still be pretty effective at mitigating what Cassandra Nova is trying to do. Shadow King resetting her to 1 is probably the most dangerous thing that we're going to see out there, though, because Cassandra Nova is so heavily incentivized for you to play down on turn 3 right on tempo. She's a very vulnerable target, and your opponent is going to be able to sit back and pick their favorite time to be able to knock her over. Shang-Chi is the callouts only for the Arishem and Thanos matchups, but those are relevant matchups, and those decks are running Shang, so your Cass is going to be so big that it's going to be vulnerable to getting knocked down. You're going to want to make sure that you're diversifying your threats into so many lanes that they can't get them all. Cosmo has just been the wonder child for stopping on-reveal cards. He is definitely a high skill ceiling card at the moment, but he's coming into the same price point, so be wary if your opponent has tempo or if your location that you're playing Cass to is telegraphed in any way. Leech, again, just really the call-out only for the Arshem match, but that matchup is so relevant in the meta at the moment. Leech is going to be coming in and then knocking out all of your on-reveal powers. You're going to have to... Arshem is just disgusting, guys, alright? I don't know what to say. Play her early and get controlled, hold her and get leeched. This is the Russian roulette that Arshem is playing with you as you try and guess what he might have been able to draw. And then Jubilee that effect is able to thin the opposing deck, making Cass just that much weaker, Blob doing so as well. Though both of these effects are coming into play so late in the game, they're really just a super soft counter and are not going to be too relevant for us. So here we are, the final verdict. Super or loser for Cassandra Nova? We're going super, baby. The Arshem chase down here is feeling incredible. And I love the idea of the power levels that Cassandra Nova is going to be able to put down. I also know how frustrating it is to get hit with Scorp. And so the idea that everything in my deck is just a little bit weaker as this niggling extra bit of value that she's going to be lending. So I think that she's landing solidly with 3 keys. Of course, once again, not in a cache, but in Deadpool's diner. I'm still doing my rankings out of category of 4, and the only thing holding her back from getting that 4th spot is because of her vulnerability to control. But really, guys, this had better break the back of Arshem, otherwise I'm going to be very unhappy. Let's roll into the deck that I think might be able to do it. And here we go, we got the Hawk Renslayer effectiveness package. I really wanted to pack White Widow in here as well, but I also really wanted to play Sage. There's going to be a number of permutations of this list that you're going to be able to play, but I think that this is just taking your opponent to Value Town. You have the Athena and Renslayer core, you have the Hawk point scoring core, you've got the Cassandra Nova, you've got the Grandmaster to repeat stuff and just make them that much more nasty. Black Widow in here as well, playing into the junking up of their board, attacking their hand size, holding stuff on the deck side as well. So I love what this is going to be able to do, and specifically against Arshem, you're just going to have so many threats that they have no chance of taking you down. And once again, you could just completely eliminate one of these packages and then free up space for a number of tech cards or a different set of synergies depending on your meta pocket. I would keep the Hawk core and then probably look at cutting Athena Kitty as an early option to then roll into some other tech cards, and then look at Renslayer, Mystique, Iron Man as another package that could go. Sage has been good enough on her own, but she could also drop down, and then you have so much space to be able to run whatever you want to be this awesome control piece. If you take down all of those, you could roll Sarah in here and then play a little bit more of a control-y deck and twist things over into that more toxic Sarah list. I love the potential here and can't wait to hear down in the comments where you guys think you are going to be starting Cass. So there is our full breakdown for Cassandra Nova. Let me know if I missed any synergies, counters, trap cards down in the comments below. Love chatting everything Snap down there. And you guys know we're going to be testing her as soon as we get her. I'm going crazy, guys. We're going to have Copycat, we're going to have Deadpool's Diner, and then we have the Marvel Rivals beta as well. We might be playing Diner battles in between recharging Bubs and Rivals matches, but tune in on YouTube and Twitch. You know we're going to be having a good time there and giving you the scoop and the deck testing for all of these awesome cards. Till next time, thank you guys for watching. Keep on snapping.